Hey everyone, it's Mekent here, and today I want to dive into the world of the best teen dramedy series ever created, Sex Education. Now I know, you might be wondering what else is there to say about Sex Education that hasn't already been covered in countless YouTube videos. Well, who knows, I haven't watched all of them. The ones I didn't entirely agree with. The closest to my own perspective is Friendly Space Ninja's take on this, link in the description. Do check his video out and drop a comment to us which side you are on for specific topics. It's been over a week since I watched the last episode, and honestly, I'm feeling a roller coaster of emotions. Anger, happiness, and that bittersweet feeling that's hard to shake off. The show's journey has concluded and I find myself left heartbroken. With a 2-year gap between the premiere of Season 4 and my last dive into Season 3, I didn't immediately catch the changes. Something felt off, but the show still had its charm, lovable characters, and those moments that tug at your heartstrings. I couldn't resist, so I ended up binge watching the entire series from episode 1 just to make sure I didn't miss a beat. Maybe I shouldn't have done that. Watching all 32 episodes without breaks highlighted the slow but steady decline in quality, especially after Season 2. Those initial 16 episodes were pure magic, setting a bar for teen drama that's hard to beat. The heart and soul poured into those episodes was unparalleled, and I doubt we will witness anything quite like it for a long time. The creators infused their passion into every scene, refining every word and glance. They had a fantastic cast, some of them fresh faces to acting, delivered stellar performances. The chemistry between characters like Otis and Eric, Otis and Maeve, Eric and Adam, Amy and Maeve, Lily and Ola, or Ruby and Otis was electrifying. Every interaction, every glance, it all sparkled on screen. It made us truly believe in their friendships, their romances, and their rivalries. It was so nice for a change that the main cast is not played by supermodels but average people. Of course you know the premise of the show, but I'll mention it to emphasize the series' overall arc. Set in the UK's picturesque Welsh countryside, Mordale High becomes the focal point of our story. It's a secondary school that feels more American than British, and the time frame is intentionally left ambiguous, making the story feel timeless. In the first episode, we are introduced to every main character: Otis, our protagonist, living with his sexual therapist mother, Eric, the humorous best friend, Maeve, the beautiful but enigmatic love interest, Amy, Maeve's lovable, not so bright best friend, Adam, the bully, and Headmaster Groff, Adam's father, among others. As I revisited Season 1, those familiar feelings from 4 years ago came rushing back. I distinctly remember watching the first episode for the first time and thinking, here we go again, the gay best friend, the bully, the posh group, the headmaster who despises kids, the beautiful main actress, and the 25-year-old adults playing teen roles. All these elements we have seen in countless other shows, but in this one something was different, nothing unfolded as expected. As the first season unfolds, we delve deeper into the lives of our main characters. We laugh with them, sympathize with their struggles, feel moments of disdain, and, in a word, care for them. All of them. This is a remarkable quality of the show, one that not many creators can boast about. We come to understand that Otis grapples with profound issues surrounding sexuality, yet possesses a unique talent for aiding others with their problems. And he takes genuine pleasure in doing so. Although initially his motivation revolves around being close to Maeve, with each passing episode he evolves and he derives more and more satisfaction from the happiness he brings to those around him. Of course, this doesn't change that he harbors a deep love for Maeve, since he perceives her as a figure on a pedestal. And the fact that she is involved with Jackson, combined with his own feelings of inadequacy as a virgin, further complicates his emotions. This internal struggle is so deeply ingrained in him that he even withdraws from a kiss when he unexpectedly shares an intimate moment with Maeve. Filled with regret over missing his chance with Maeve and pushed by his father's advice to just get it over with, Otis agrees to sleep with Lily when she offers. However, when they begin to get intimate, he has a nervous breakdown, revealing his unreadiness for true intimacy. Oddly, a few days later when Ola, another girl, asks him out, he immediately accepts. These encounters underscore Otis's struggle to take control of his own life, portraying him as vulnerable and in search of someone to provide direction. Meanwhile, Maeve emerges as a deeply complex character, displaying strength while harboring a profound fragility within. Despite recognizing her own potential, she consistently undermines herself, lacking self-esteem. Her demeanor remains distant from those around her, positioning her as a loner except for her bond with Amy. Her first glimmer of belief comes from a teacher who recognizes her talent as a writer, guiding her to a program for gifted students. Maeve grapples with internal conflicts, rendering her character indecisive, and this inner turmoil spills into her romantic life, torn between her affections for Jackson and her maturing feelings for Otis, causing her emotions to waver between the two. Though some perceive Otis negatively, I must say I don't share that sentiment, at least not in the first 3 seasons. In my view, Maeve's character exhibits a more complex array of negative traits at this point. However, this doesn't diminish my fondness for her. Quite the contrary, I'm genuinely captivated by her character. Meanwhile, Eric embarks on his own transformative journey. His sexuality, evident from the very beginning, doesn't solely define him. He is a charming, friendly character, navigating the challenges of finding his place in the world. I appreciate his unceasing laughter and boundless joy for Otis's happiness. Their bond is nothing short of what one might call an epitome of true friendship. Their bickering is authentic, a testament to the bond between real friends. However, Eric faces a harsh reality check one night when Otis can't join him at a trans movie event and he ends up assaulted. It's a pivotal moment, revealing the harsh truth that acceptance isn't universal. Adding to his struggles, his father seems unsupportive of his life choices, but he later realizes that his concerns stem from a place of fear. Fear that the world will hurt Eric because of who he is. A few episodes later, we witness a moving scene between them before the school dance. In that moment, Eric comprehends his father's unconditional love, creating a heartwarming connection. As Adam observed this interaction with a twinge of envy in his eyes, we recognize the longing he feels for a similar bond with his own father. Speaking of Adam, we are familiar with his bullying tendencies, his academic struggles, and his hatred towards his father. He threatens Eric once again after he sees the scene between him and his father, but first in his life, Eric steps up for himself, which surprises Adam so much that he loses his fierce character. As the night goes on, he starts a fight, and when his father tries to stop them, he tells him that he hates him. Couple days later, after pushing Eric's button too far, they engage in a fight. However, Adam's aggression takes a surprising turn and they share a brief, unexpected sexual encounter. Adam, grappling with his own identity and struggling to accept it, coerces Eric into silence, threatening dire consequences if the secret gets out. As viewers, we begin to understand the complexity behind his actions, fostering a newfound sense of empathy for his character. Amy, in my opinion, serves primarily as the comic relief, a role she impeccably fulfills. Her romantic entanglements leaping from one boy to another reflect her people-pleasing nature. Initially, her character seems somewhat one-dimensional, revolving around her desire to fit in and please others. Yet, her evolution becomes evident as she embarks on a journey of self-discovery on later seasons. Her character arc takes a pivotal turn when she begins to prioritize herself, recognizing the toxicity of her friendships and, in turn, distancing herself from her old group. This newfound self-awareness marks the significant growth in her character. Amy's transformation from a people-pleaser to someone who values her own worth adds depth to her persona, making her more relatable and endearing to the audience. While her role may have started as a mere comic relief, her progression adds layers to the narrative, contributing to the rich variations of characters within the series. In the grand scheme of things, Amy's growth becomes a testament to the show's ability to craft complex, evolving characters, even in seemingly secondary roles. The defining moment of season 1 for me occurred when Maeve is in the abortion clinic, sharing the waiting room with another girl and an older woman. The latter attempted to alleviate the tension in the room, not by trivializing the situation, but by offering emotional support, holding their hands and empowering them. In that shared vulnerability, she thought to uplift their spirits, finding strength within herself in the process. It was a deeply touching and unforgettable moment. And after Maeve was let go, we witnessed the show's first of course moment between Otis and her.
You waited?
Of course.
This particular instance stands out because it marks the moment when Maeve realizes that despite everyone letting her down throughout her life, there is this boy who knows nothing about her past, doesn't ask questions, yet he stands by her side unwaveringly, no matter the circumstances. It's a powerful testament to the genuine connection they share. This raw, unfiltered portrayal of human relationships is what sets Sex Education apart, making it more than just a teen drama series. It becomes a mirror reflecting the complexities of real life, resonating deeply with its viewers. The season ends with a suspenseful punch in the face when Maeve recognizes her deepening feelings for Otis. Yet, in the cruel twist of fate typical of television dramas, she arrives at Otis's doorstep just as he shares a kiss with Ola. Well, no show can be perfect. Not even Breaking Bad, sorry. Season 2 stands out as a masterpiece among the show's 4 seasons, striking a perfect balance between the main and secondary cast. Each character experiences a compelling arc, some leading to happiness while others to heartbreak. Life's unpredictable ups and downs are mirrored brilliantly, making this season the creator's magnum opus. I want to believe that I'm wrong and there is a bright future ahead of her, but as the show declined after this season, I'm a bit skeptical, but this is for another video. In this season, Otis finds himself facing a new challenge, an overwhelming surge of desire. His struggles with intimacy take an unexpected turn, leading to comical moments of uncontrollable hard-ons that genuinely made me laugh out loud. While he's still happy with Ola, he finds it impossible to shake off his lingering feelings for Maeve, even though he has come to terms with them just being friends. What's truly heartening to witness is the deepening connection between them, a bond that has grown stronger than ever before. The scenes where Maeve, for once, longs for him are both endearing and amusing. When she attempts to summon the courage to express her feelings and he asks her what twice, the second time filled with so much hope, both of them shy away yet the underlying emotion is tangible. It's an evidence to the exceptional acting by both Emma and Asa. Returning to my earlier point, despite some viewers labeling Otis as selfish, I contend that he consistently acts with good intentions. Though he unintentionally distances himself from almost everyone around him except for Eric, in my view he always strives to do what's right. Even after Maeve confessed her feelings, yet he stayed with Ola. It was undoubtedly a painful choice, but one that reflected his attempt to be considerate, to remain loyal to his girlfriend, avoiding the path his father had taken. His advice to others, even when shared reluctantly, stems from a genuine desire to help. Even when he clashes with Jacob and Jean due to their newfound romantic involvement, his stance, while at times impassioned, remains true. In the end, his intentions are guided by an earnest desire to the well-being of those he cares about deeply. Otis undergoes significant character development when he chooses to order his relationship with Ola over his friendship with Maeve, aiming to avoid repeating his father's mistakes. However, Ola's character takes a frustrating turn. She becomes demanding, insensitive, and ultimately unlikable. Her constant pressure on Otis for intimacy and her ultimatum regarding Maeve create a toxic dynamic. When Otis finally gives in and tells Maeve they cannot meet anymore, Ola breaks up with him, making it challenging for viewers to sympathize with her. Despite Otis' genuine efforts to be a better person, he faces challenges and ends up making things worse during a speech at a party where he says hurtful things to both Maeve and Ola. While the circumstances were complicated, his actions were hurtful, leading to him losing both girls. And in a fun touch, we discovered that Ruby slept with Otis after the party out of pity for herself and most probably for Otis as well. Unfortunately, Ruby was sidelined the whole season despite her great charisma, humor and appealing appearance. Their story involving the missing condom is relatable and hilarious, and reminding the audience that there are choices to be made all the time. For Maeve, unfortunately, the life dealt shit again this season. Her crush is with someone else, her junkie mother came back, and while she gets in the quiz team at school and sole-handedly win the quiz for them, they kick her out for being too good or something apparently. I have no idea what happened there. Then came Amy with her own story arc, with her being sexually assaulted, and it was thoughtful. It wasn't over the top, it wasn't underplayed. It was handled with care, it was believable. It showed us once again the fantastic and real connection between Maeve and Amy. The way Maeve helped her to realize that what happened to her was far from normal and acceptable and helped her speak up was very touching. I like that they didn't close her arc in the rest of the season like, okay, that happened, let's move on, but actually became the part of Amy's story and development for the rest of the show. But back to Maeve. After the quiz team fires her for, once again, being better alone than the rest of them, it pushes her to tell Otis that she has feelings for him, and we have the second of course moment between them.
You did like me.
Yes, of course I did.
But unlike the first one, this one is heart-crushing. As she tries to move on and attempts to give her mother a place in her life, she warms up to her, giving her yet another chance. However, Erin can't appreciate it and falls off the wagon again. The call that Maeve makes to childcare to help her little sister and her hopeless pleading with her mother to forgive her as if she were in the wrong was painful to watch. We can only think about when will something good happen to this girl which she so clearly deserves. Probably by the end of the season, right? Nah, of course not. We got introduced to 3 new characters this season: Rahim, Isaac and already mentioned Erin. Rahim primarily serves as Eric's love interest, while Isaac becomes a disruptive force between Otis and Maeve. Now, while I said that this season is a masterpiece, it has its faults, mainly these 2 characters. Rahim is a ghost, he has absolutely nothing to do the whole show other than to gaze into nothingness with soulless eyes. The other is Isaac, who is the literal arsehole of the show. He has no redeeming quality whatsoever, nothing. The only positive aspect of his character is that his disability does not define him, and essentially I have nothing else to say about these 2. On the other hand, Erin's character is fantastic. She has depth, a soul, and is a fully developed character rather than just some marginal notes on the screenplay. We delve into her past, her battles with drugs, and her deep love for her children. She undergoes her own little arc, a tragic one that not only affects her but unfortunately Maeve as well. As I mentioned at the beginning, the actors and actresses here are operating on a whole other level, and the best among them are Emma Mackey and Anne-Marie Duff. The performances these 2 deliver throughout the series are nothing short of extraordinary. Adam is the most lovable character this season, experiencing both highs and lows. His journey is one of the 2 arcs that concludes in happy ending this season. He begins at rock bottom, attending military school where he struggles and eventually gets expelled. Later, he takes a job at a shop but is soon fired. His parents' divorce adds to his challenges, and when he opens up to Eric about his feelings, leading to a kiss, Eric chooses Rahim due to his ability to hold hands in public, leaving Adam feeling even lower. Amidst these struggles, he finds solace in his relationship with his supportive mother, his talent with dogs and his connection with Ola. Ultimately, with his mother's guidance, he learns to accept himself for who he is, and in a courageous moment in front of the entire school, he approaches Eric and asks if he can hold his hand, marking a triumphant turn in his arc. Eric doesn't have a real arc this season, he is just grinding between Rahim and Adam, mirroring Otis' struggles. Like Otis, Eric grapples with choosing between unconditional acceptance and genuine love. And just like Otis, he chooses love by the end. Except in his case, Adam knows this, while Maeve doesn't. The part that felt out of place by the end was that, for some reason, every student were satisfied with the advice they received from Jean, even though she clearly gave bad ones on more than one occasion. The only situation where Otis gave incorrect advice, on the other hand, was to the asexual girl, and it was because she told him completely different things than what she told to Jean. In this regard, Otis was clearly better than her mother. And now we arrive at the season's cliffhanger. I've always had a soft spot for them. A good cliffhanger can inject you with intense energy. It can be positive or negative, but its primary purpose is to evoke emotion, and boy did it make me feel something. Mostly sadness, as we witness Otis's hopeful expression and Maeve's unknowing smile in the night, and then overwhelming anger towards Isaac, wishing him a lifetime sentence of watching Barney and Friends and the Jerry Springer Show back to back for eternity. In Season 3 the writing was still better than anything else that comes to mind, but it took a step down from the previous seasons. While almost every TV series reaches a point where the creators crank down the reality meter, it usually happens after 4 or 5 seasons and 80 episodes by US standards. Here they did it after only 16. In the very first episode we have a guy who measures his manhood in school, fully naked, with a folding ruler, running through a field in front of the whole school, hiding his thing with a goat. Don't get me wrong, I was laughing hard, but I really had to suspend my disbelief. The tangled web of relationships continues to weave in this new season. The summer has swept through since our last glimpse into the lives of Eric and Adam, who are still together. Adam's struggle with openness gradually melts away, shaping them into a real couple marked by resilience and mutual growth, striving to be the best they can for each other day by day. And then there is Amy, still with Steve, yet haunted by the shadows of her past experiences, struggling to bridge the gap of intimacy. Her past traumas lingered, casting shadows on their relationship. Meanwhile, Headmaster Groff was fired from Mordale and is living with his successful brother, who treats him terribly. His life is in ruins, and this is when his story arc begins. Will he redeem himself? We don't know yet, but we start to cheer for him. I wonder what happened in the writer's room, because he had a fantastic change in personality all of a sudden. In Season 1 and Season 2 he was an asshole, maybe the butt of some jokes, and that was it. That was his character. But right from this episode he becomes an interesting individual we start to care for. The whole family chemistry between him, Adam and Maureen was handled so well that I cannot even remember another show where we cheered for a family this hard to reunite. Over the summer, Otis and Ruby started a Friends with Benefits arrangement, a secret one because Ruby was embarrassed by Otis. Surprisingly, by the first episode's end, Otis managed to change Ruby's perspective and she openly embraced their relationship, affectionately holding his hand. Yet, in a heartbeat, he exchanges a meaningful glance with Maeve, indicating that no matter how long he stays with Ruby, it won't be long before he returns to her. This development frustrated me because the writers didn't even try to hide it. Until this point, the show had handled everything uniquely, steering clear of typical series tropes. However, here, it surrendered to the same tired clichés seen in countless other shows, introducing a new love interest merely to prolong the love story of the main couple. However, the creators made a significant error in execution. When a show resorts to this trope, it must be careful. The temporary love interest shouldn't be too lovable and the relationship shouldn't be too strong. Otherwise, viewers won't understand why the protagonist leaves the temporary partner for the real one. Yet, this is precisely what happens here. Otis and Ruby were so good together that when they broke up 4 episodes into the season, a substantial portion of fans, myself included, couldn't fathom why. Although I rooted for the Maeve-Otis relationship, Otis hadn't spoken with Maeve in 3 months, yet he falls for her the minute he sees her. Adding to the confusion, Ruby tells Otis that she loves him, to which he casually responds, "That's nice."
I love you. Oh. That's nice.
This kind of response alienates viewers from the hero. Many people condemned Otis for this, but I wasn't one of them. Lying to Ruby would have made him a bad person, but he chose honesty, explaining that he might feel the same way about her, but he needed time to get there. I found this honesty to be a brave, endearing and relatable quality, and I respect him for it. Of course, I felt sorry for Ruby, who had been nothing but kind to Otis, the first person she ever really opened up to. So yeah, it was a pretty hurtful end of their romance. Not without its benefits though. It helped Ruby to grow as well. For the first time in her life, she allowed somebody into her heart, enabling her to be more honest with her friends as well. Meanwhile, Maeve has moved on, and it seems like she is hitting it off with Isaac.
Raspberry or strawberry jam?
Raspberry.
Well, good news, we've got neither.
Great. Finally she has healthy feelings for somebody who is available, and she seems genuinely happy. For a whole minute. Because this is the moment when Isaac does the first genuinely positive thing we see from him. He tells her that he deleted Otis's message. I really think that someone among the writers didn't like Maeve and wanted her to suffer. The poor girl just couldn't catch a break. So she leaves him, but first she says to him that he doesn't know her and that she doesn't trust anybody, but she trusted him. What? Otis is the only person in her whole life who knows about her abortion and told no one, and she says she doesn't trust anybody. That is some seriously weak writing all over. And it just continues later, where Isaac delivers a monologue about how well he knows Maeve because he knows her habit of cutting off the crust of her toast. And she's, yeah, this guy really gets me. Unbelievable. But on the positive side, it makes them get together and it feels great that we see her happy for a bit. So, we are in the middle of the season and the French episode happens. It was refreshing to see the cast move out of their usual setting. The entire episode was something new, not without its faults. The plot of the episode was so over the top and convoluted that it hurt my brain. But it had to be that way since the writers wrote themselves into a corner. They needed something to connect Maeve and Otis again, anything to make them talk to each other once more. Putting the whole premise aside, the scenes between Maeve and Otis were a work of art. The scenery, the lighting, the acting, the dialogue, Maeve's nervous play with her nails, Otis's embarrassed reenactment of his message, the of course moment, and their kiss, it was cathartic.
Do you mean it?
Of course I meant it.
Despite the increased number of cringeworthy moments, the show's overall writing and storyline remained strong. It didn't strike me initially, it was only upon rewatching the series that I realized the shift. In the first two seasons, the topic of sex education was primarily explored through Otis's or Jean's therapy sessions. However, this season it seamlessly integrated into the narrative, feeling entirely natural. The show introduced new themes such as pronouns, queer and non-binary characters and managed to incorporate them smoothly without coming across as preachy or overly woke. Even the love scene between Maeve and Isaac was handled with such care that it was both beautiful and informative about how it works for a disabled person. It was undeniably one of the highlights of the third season. The biggest letdown on the other hand was how they handled Eric's character by the end of the season. His relationship with Adam was so great, it changed Adam so much for the better. They even told I love you to each other and then he travels to Nigeria for a week and cheats on him with a random guy. Like, what was that? Did we really need a complex plot to make Eric realize that Adam isn't as openly gay as he prefers? It felt forced, especially when the answer was already clear. Although, as I mentioned earlier, this season is a definite step down from season 2, its last episode and the very end of the previous one were high points once again. When Otis tells Maeve that he wants to be with her every day even if they cannot be together romantically, and Maeve confesses that she had feelings for him the whole time and they get together at last, was exceptional. And the entire last episode, where we don't know if Gene will make it or pass away, fills us with terrible pain and sadness for Otis as he fears he will lose his mother. There are so many great scenes in this one episode that are standout that almost none of them are. The heartwarming moment where Eric hugs Otis, making him feel safe and sharing his pain, or when Otis tells him about his last fight with Gene, how he didn't want to talk about Maeve and now he wishes to tell all about her. Or the moment when he tells Jacob that he doesn't want to be with his real dad if his mother dies. Or when he confides in Gene about Maeve that she could be the one. And then there is the part where Maeve tells Otis at the very end that it's not a goodbye, but a see you soon. Memorable scenes are scattered all over the place. As I delved into numerous videos and read through hundreds of comments on the topic, I found it strange how many people despised the last season. It wasn't great, far from it, but I didn't loathe it. It still retained some of its charm, although there were some very odd decisions made behind the scenes. The setting shifted from Mordale to another secondary school, half of the original cast was replaced, and every single new cast member was a minority. All of a sudden, the show, which was once praised for its adept handling of such topics, decided to go overboard and be as woke as humanly possible. Thankfully, it still didn't come off as preachy, at least not until the very last episode. As I mentioned, a significant portion of the original cast was replaced, including Olivia and Anwar, and since Ruby was still on bad terms with Otis, she didn't have anybody. She became a loner. It just didn't make sense. The three of them were inseparable, and by the end of season 3, they were closer than ever. So why would the trio go to different schools, let alone ditch Ruby altogether? I couldn't wrap my head around how they handled Jacob either. At the end of the previous season, he was bonding with Otis in such an unbelievable way that Otis even asked him to take care of him instead of his real father in case his mother died. And Jacob said yes. Then we find out Joy is not his kid, so he's out. Why did they give us that emotional, meaningful scene with Otis and Jacob if they were going to get rid of him 5 minutes later? With Jacob gone, Ola had to go as well. I didn't care about her that much, she wasn't an interesting character. But without her, Lily's out of the picture as well, and she was actually a nice, funny and lovable person. Adam's storyline took a peculiar turn. He hardly interacted with anyone from the original cast except his family and one sentence with Eric, almost feeling like the creators were preparing for a spin-off for him. While it wasn't necessarily bad, it seemed disconnected from the central theme of sex education. However, his journey with his father was compelling, filled with both humorous and moving moments that left a lasting impact. The moment when Adam shared his knowledge of Viagra usage with his father was a fantastic callback to episode 1 when Otis taught him the same. In this season, I find myself agreeing with others. Otis suddenly became unlikable. It is strange since this shift served no purpose, as he didn't gain anything from it. His love, Maeve, was in America for a month, he felt jealousy towards her classmates, and he lost his sex clinic to a better therapist, leading to even more envy. And on top of everything, he even exposes his flaccid penis at his new school to everyone, which, while humorous, felt unnecessary. Why tarnish the protagonist's likability, especially in the show's final season? It just didn't make any sense. Maeve was handled similarly terrible. She spent half the time in the US engaging in uninteresting dialogues with characters who mattered less to the viewers than the new ones introduced in England. Instead of focusing on her relationship with Otis, which has been a central aspect of the show, Maeve found herself discussing novels with a professor who, by the way, is played by an actor who could learn from Neil Breen.
No.
And her primary trait seemed to be her heightened sexual desires. While the scene featuring mutual masturbation over the phone added a delicate touch, it couldn't salvage her overall portrayal. It appears that the creators faced a significant dilemma. Even though our favorite couple still wasn't together 4 episodes before the last, they occasionally found moments of happiness, which apparently the writers deemed unacceptable for the storyline. So to kick into Maeve once more, her professor crushes her dreams by telling her she has no future as a writer, her mother dies of overdose, her brother abandons her once again, Otis confesses he slept with Ruby, and when she still seeks intimacy with him, he experiences a nervous breakdown. The entire last season suffered from an identity crisis, much like some of its characters. I didn't bother to check if there were changes in the writing team, but it wouldn't surprise me. Most of the new characters, while pleasant and likable, felt somewhat purposeless. The only exception was the other therapist, O, who had a significant role. She became the villain, not because she was better than Otis, which would have been fine, but because she was manipulative, backstabbing, cocky, a liar, and generally unlikable. Towards the end, she partially redeems herself by helping Otis overcome his fear of losing Maeve, but the redemption arc felt somewhat lackluster. On the contrary, Amy's character was handled perfectly. It was a delightful touch that she discovered her passion for photography, using it as a means to heal from her trauma. Her scene involving the burning of her jeans was particularly emotional. Witnessing her transformation from being terrified to being open to whatever the future held was truly remarkable. Since we first met Eric in Season 1, his character has provided a unique perspective on queer identity and family. Instead of conforming to the stereotype of the fearful gay teenager, he presents himself as larger than life. Throughout the series, he embarks on a journey to fully embrace himself, and by the season finale, we witness how his self-love and queer identity have far-reaching implications for his life, especially as a Christian. Eric faces hesitation about being baptized due to he must conceal parts of himself that might make others uncomfortable. This struggle is further underscored by Abby, who reveals that she had to leave her former church when she transitioned because they couldn't accept her. Abby and Eric's eagerness to raise funds for Eric's church turns into disappointment when the church rejects their donation because of their high school's inclusive policies. The series sheds light on Eric and Abby's longing for community and the relationship with God, while illustrating the challenges they face in finding acceptance within their chosen congregation. That being said, I found some of the scenes this season featuring Eric's finding his path to being a pastor a bit long and too surreal. His interactions with God were overwhelming. While similar surreal scenes occurred in previous seasons, such as Ola daydreaming about Otis and Lily's cartoon fantasies, it was clear that these were imagined scenarios or narrated stories. In Eric's case, it is unclear whether these experiences are real or products of his imagination. Nonetheless, it was a great farewell to his character as he realized that it is not enough for him to accept himself. His real calling is to help others accept themselves as well. In almost every series, we know from the get-go which characters are destined to be together. Sometimes the journey is worth it, and sometimes it is not. Usually the intended couple has to go through hoops. We have seen that a million times. It was the same with Rachel and Ross, Robin and Ted, Maggie and Fleischman, Diane and Sam, Penny and Leonard, Sally and Officer Dawn, or Kate and Castle. This is because How to Make a Show 101 dictates that the main couple shouldn't get together too soon, as it becomes boring for the audience, or the shipping bed death sets in, as TV tropes calls it. But setting up a couple for years demands a payoff. That cathartic moment where fans finally see their favorite characters together. If there is none, then it's a story without a climax, unsatisfying and incomplete. In Sex Education, we almost got it. That scene between Maeve and Otis in France, when they finally had the big damn kiss and we thought that this is it, they are together. Well, the creators had different ideas. Of course, they were together, merely a couple thousand kilometers away from each other for a whole season, and for why? Just to make sure that they cannot be truly happy with each other. I recently came across Lori Nunn's comments on the ending, where she revealed that she never intended for Maeve and Otis to end up together. At least not at this point. And that's understandable. It's high school, and how many sweethearts really end up together? But on the other side, I've never seen a school as woke as this one, filled with such a diverse group of individuals. I've never been on a school trip where somebody threw shit out of a moving bus, and I've certainly never heard of a high school producing a high-scale Romeo and Juliet adaptation involving aliens with penis heads and giant dancing vaginas. Given all that, would it have been such a stretch of imagination to see our beloved couple happy together for a few episodes at least? Yet, all we got was a brief glimpse of them together after 4 years of anticipation. It leaves us wondering, why couldn't we witness more of their story instead of the new characters whose names I don't even remember? The series creator, in her own words, said, "And yeah, I've always been pretty sure that Otis and Maeve wouldn't end up together. They are 17, and I think it's really hard if you meet your soulmate when you are 17. But strangely, it wasn't a problem for her that Amy and Isaac, both 17 as well, ended up together. Don't get me wrong, I appreciate the ending itself. It's a freaking masterpiece. It made me simultaneously sad and happy. It felt so genuine, I even shed a few tears for God's sake as Maeve sat by the window in Otis's t-shirt, her voice narrating her goodbye letter, and both of them gazing into the distance, lost in thoughts about each other. Yet, I felt genuinely happy for Maeve as she moved on to follow her dreams, knowing it was the best thing that could have happened to her. Not that she cannot be with his soulmate, but that she was able to move out from her cage of a small town because she is destined to for more. I was elated that Adam's family got a fresh start and he found a new love interest. I love that Eric and Otis realized once again that they are BFFs, although I think we all knew that from day one. It felt fantastic that Amy found a hobby, a profession she could enjoy, and that she finally overcame her assault. And damn, I was even happy that she found someone to be with, although I despise Isaac and can't fathom what these two have in common. So my main issue isn't that Maeve and Otis didn't end up together for good. My main problem is that we didn't see them happy together even for a little bit. We barely even saw Maeve in the last season amidst the influx of new characters I didn't even care that much about. I understand the episode count was somewhat limited, as is the case with all British TV shows, but I would have cut 90% of the screen time of the new characters in a heartbeat to give more focus to Maeve. As I watched the final credits roll and listened to the flooding notes of Let It Be, a familiar sensation settled within me. It was something familiar, as if I had witnessed this conclusion before, not precisely beat for beat, but with enough resemblance to evoke similar emotions. Initially, I couldn't quite pinpoint it, but a couple of days later it struck me like a sudden revelation. It reminded me of Richard Linklater's Before trilogy. The love story of Maeve and Otis mirrored that of Jesse and Celine in Before Sunrise. Two young soulmates deeply in love but unable to be together in the present moment. Both the characters and the audience understand this inevitable truth. Their paths diverge as the story concludes, leaving behind emotional, bittersweet resonance. We sense that this can't be the definitive end for them. Their shared journey isn't over. It's an emotional, unfinished tale. Just as Jesse and Celine meet again in the sequels, there is a hope lingering that someday, somehow, Maeve and Otis might find their way back to each other. The beauty of these narratives lies in their imperfections, in their ability to mirror the unpredictability of life. We are left with a mixture of emotions, a sense of longing, a trace of sadness, and yet an odd satisfaction in witnessing a story so raw and genuine. As the screen fades to black, the echoes of Let It Be linger in the air, leaving us with a sense of melancholic acceptance. We may not know what the future holds for Maeve and Otis, but we do know that their story, much like ours, is a journey filled with ups and downs, twists and turns, love and heartbreak. Thank you for joining me on this emotional journey. Until next time, this is Mekand signing off.